This month's topic is on unity, and this week's lesson is about strength in unity outside the church. This is a spider web similar to last week's video, where we talked about these connections. Those connections are very important, but they mean nothing without the webs connecting it to the tree. Without those connections, the web would fly away with the wind, and would be a waste of string for the spider. And in this analogy, the church is the web, and the tree is the world outside the church. 2 Corinthians 5:18-20. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeals through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God.
Maybe some partial credit. But yeah, thank you again, Levi. I actually do need my computer. I don't know why I left it. All right. Everybody have a good Christmas? Pretty good? All right, who in here has already put their tree up? Oh, man. Wow.
But ours has been up since October.
No, I mean, you're saying this has been up so long, it's like it's time to put it away. Okay. Well, that's good. Oh, happy birthday, Sam. Yay. How old are you, buddy? What'd you say? He said 30. Man, must have been the biggest in your class. Wow. All right, guys. Today is our last sermon on unity. It's so good to see everybody. I know we got a ton of people that are out sick, but I'm really, really glad you're here today. And in Ashley's famous words, I don't know how to say this the right way, but it's kind of like, whoever's here is meant to be here. Is that kind of what you say? Something like that. So that always gives me a lot of peace, is like, whoever shows up, and that's who's meant to be there. So very glad you're here. All right, so today we're going to talk about the last one, which is, who is one person in the world I could bring to God? So we've talked about, how will the world know that we are Christians? By our what? By our love, right, church? All right. And then we talked about what happens when we isolate. So there's a difference in like taking time to seclude and like, I need a break. I need to go off alone in prayer. Jesus did that some, right? But isolating is like a self-destructive thing where it's like you're putting yourself in the way of harm and you're shooting yourself in the foot. And sometimes your own worst enemy is you. And sometimes you're like, man, you don't want to have to deal with what goes on up in here, you know? And so isolation is very, very devastating. Satan loves to isolate us because if he can isolate us, we start to get down in our sin. We start to commit more sin. We start to deal with guilt and frustration. And what do? We're paralyzed. Those are maybe Josh's words. The paralyzed part, right? Guilt, fear, paralyzes. So Satan loves to isolate us. He loves to keep us away from other Christians and keep us away from God. And that was the cool video that Levi did about remember the hot coals, right? And when they're all together, and then you take one and you set it off on its own, and what happens? It just loses its fire. You know, it loses its heat, it loses its flame. All right. And then we said, who is one person at church I could grow closer to? So that's us trying to be a closer-knit church family. And you remember the illustration with the paper, right, Corbin and Brex? It's like you don't need 50 sheets of paper to make it tough. What do you got to do? Just keep folding it. Just make it close. The closer that thing gets, the harder it is to break. Okay? So it's very important that we pick people out in church, and we don't wait for them to draw closer to us, right? But we be the ones to take the first step to draw closer to other people. Because if we're all sitting around waiting for somebody else to take the first step, what's going to happen? You don't get closer. Also, you can't be best friends with everybody, right? Otherwise, that's not a best friend. So that lesson is not to pressure you all that you have to text every person every day, right? That's not sustainable. If this church turns into 500 people or 5,000 people, Lord willing, that's not sustainable. But what is sustainable is that there are close-knit relationships within a big church, or within a big group. They're not cliques. Are cliques healthy? No. Cliques are awful, All right, not cliques, but you are going to have little groups, some that are closer to others. Remember that illustration I said about Liam and Jamie? And like if Jamie were to bring a basketball buddy, right? Y'all remember that? Okay, so remember that. All right, so who is one person in the world I could bring to God? All right. Hang on, did I have something on that? No, okay. All right, here's going to be like all of your passages, all of your like stuff if you want to write down to read later, take notes on later, and after this slide, it's going to be much more like just real talk, okay? So here's something I want you all to think about. All right. I have a really weird question, okay? Like, it may not seem that weird, but I've got a question that I think the more you ponder on it, the more you're like, or at least that's how my brain works, okay? Are all my scholars ready? All my Bible scholars ready? Y'all ready? Man, y'all are not ready for this question. Okay. All right. Is my church family ready? Yeah. Okay, church family. I want you to think about this, okay? A lot of times when Jesus would go somewhere, he would perform a miracle, right? So he would perform a miracle, and then that person might go and say, hey, like I was blind and now I see, and they would bring their sick friends, right? And Jesus would perform more miracles. A lot of passages that say that Jesus, kind of like took away our sickness and infirmities, correct? Now, here's my question, okay? What did Jesus do if people wanted to be around him and he was not performing miracles? We're going to flesh this out some more, but think about this, okay? Like the woman at the well. Did Jesus perform a miracle with the woman at the well? No. Correct? Well, just hang on. All right. Jesus didn't, she wasn't paralyzed, correct? She wasn't blind. She didn't have a fever, leprosy, all right? So when she goes back to town and she tells the town, what does she tell the town? He knew what? And everything I ever did. Correct? Oh, my word. She's so cute. She's talking to us. Willow's talking. All right, so she tells the town he knew everything I ever did. And then the town comes, and they come to Jesus, and while they're on their way, remember Jesus, he's like, my disciples, guys, look up. The fields are white for harvest. In other words, you are about to encounter a great opportunity to save souls, correct? All right, and then you get to John chapter 4, verse 40, and it says, so when the Samaritans came to him, they asked him to stay with them, and he stayed there 2 days. This is a very particular question, okay? But I want y'all to think hard about this because I think it's important. What did they do for 2 days with Jesus? The woman didn't bring the town to Jesus because, hey, I found this guy that's performing miracles. Bring your lame, bring your lepers, bring your blind. Correct? Okay, so she brings the town to Jesus, and they tell Jesus, Jesus, we want you to stay here for 2 days. So he stays there for 2 days, and then he moves on. And at the end of that encounter, they say, now we believe Jesus, no longer because of what the woman said, but because we have seen him ourselves. But so, like, what does a guy like Jesus do for 2 days with a town full of people if he's not healing them miraculously? Y'all are saying the right answers. He's showing them the way. What'd you say, Monica? You said something? Giving them the word of God. Josh said he's talking to them. What'd you say, Cindy? Like, I don't know that we spend enough time just thinking, like, if I was living back then, if Jesus came here today and he hung out with our church for 2 days, like, what are we doing? What are we going to be doing? Is it like, is he up in the pulpit for 2 days preaching? Is he, like, are we, going to Bowling Green to the bowling alley? Like, are we going to the movies? Like, what are we doing? All right. Let me keep asking this. Look at these other ones. Luke 24:29. But they urged Jesus strongly, saying, "Stay with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is now far spent." So he went in to stay with them. Luke 19:5. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said, Zacchaeus was a wee little man. Wee little man was he. You know that song? And he says, "Zacchaeus, I'm doing what? I am going to your house today." Did Jesus heal Zacchaeus of his shortness? Did he make Zacchaeus taller? Okay, so what did they do? He went to his house. Well, he didn't perform a miracle. So what did they do? Luke 10:39. And she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. I think sometimes we need to not forget that Jesus didn't just come here to heal people's diseases. He came here to spend time with people and to have a conversation. Jesus wanted to sit down and talk with us. And so then we're kind of asking, okay, so what did they talk about? What did he and his 12 talk to the whole town about for 2 days? What did they talk about in Luke 24? What did he talk about with Zacchaeus? What did he talk about with Mary and her sister? Like, if Jesus is teaching, well, what is it? It's like, all right, well, here are the books of the Old Testament. Maybe not that. What's Jesus talking about? And I think a lot of it goes back to, this is my Bible class, adult Bible class. Y'all going to shine real quick, okay? What did Jesus talk to the woman at the well about? Her past. He talked to her about her sin. He talked to her about the thing that was keeping her from God and the thing that was keeping her from having a fulfilling life. And it's kind of interesting if you go and you listen, like if you look back on the Sermon on the Mount, you know what you actually hear a lot when Jesus is teaching on the Sermon on the Mount? He's addressing people's sin, and he's addressing things that are not making them fulfilled, and he's addressing how they can have a more satisfying life. Blessed are you if you do this stuff. So when Jesus had a chance to talk to people on a big setting, he's doing the same thing he's doing with the woman at the well, just with more Bible verses attached to it. You guys are saying you've heard don't commit murder. That's wonderful. What else? You should not do what? You should not have anger in your heart. Because nobody commits murder without first being what? Angry. So it's like you've got a preacher that gets up every Sunday and is like, don't commit murder, don't commit murder, don't commit murder, but people are still going home miserable. Why are they going home miserable? Maybe because people are still going home angry. Right? So it's like, I'm glad our church hasn't committed murder yet, but we've got 50% of them are just angry all the time. So Jesus is like, look, murder is what will happen, but the problem is your heart. You are full of anger, right? Same thing with adultery. Don't commit adultery, don't commit adultery, don't commit adultery. Great. We haven't committed adultery yet. Wonderful. What does every person do first before they commit adultery? What do they do in their heart? Lust. They think about it, right? Right? And it's like, yeah, you've got a whole church full of people that are going home. They're not committing adultery. That's wonderful. But if everyone's heart's full of lust, do you think they're walking around happy? Come on, guys. Y'all got to get fired up on this. Do you think you're going home happy if you're still angry in your heart and you're still lustful in your heart and you're still bitter in your heart and you're still all this stuff in your heart? You're not happy. So Jesus came here to address people's sin, like the woman at the well, who she's going home to after her 5th marriage, and she's on the 6th guy who she is still not married to. And Jesus is like, honey, you are trying to fill a God-shaped hole with a world-shaped product, and that does not work. All right, so what did people think about Jesus? Well, Matthew 7:29, Luke 4:32, John 7:46. You know what people thought when they got done hearing Jesus? They said, he teaches as one who has authority. Now that is also a very fascinating thing to study and to think about. What does Jesus have? Don't answer this. I want you to think about it, okay? If Jesus gets done talking and they say he speaks as one who has authority, what does Jesus have authority over? And at the end of the day, I think what Jesus has authority over is sin. Like Jesus has the power to fix people's sin. In other words, like you have people that are, in quotations here, going to church every Sunday, but they feel still like they're captives. And when Jesus gets done preaching, they're like, this is word for word. He was teaching them as one who had authority and not as their scribes. So it's like, I've been going to church every Sunday. I've been listening to the preacher, but I'm going home not changed. And I still have these problems and stuff's not getting fixed. But when Jesus gets done talking, he reveals stuff to them that now allows them to go home, and Jesus has power over their sin. What do y'all think? Am I off the mark? Do y'all think that's possible? All right, me and Monica. It's just me and Monica today, okay? Me and Monica feel like this is possible. I think it's possible that when Jesus gets done talking, people say you have authority, and it's not because, like, oh, he's writing a book or something. It's not because he is quoting passages. He has authority because this guy actually has the key to my happiness. All right, so let me explain this a little bit more because I feel like I'm losing you guys. Man, I wish I want to show you this video, but I probably shouldn't. I don't know. Okay. If y'all don't like it, it's Kelsey's fault. All right, let me see if I can find this video it won't take long because I sent it to several people. You remember that video I sent Josh, you and Andrew? Okay. We're going to try this. All right. I'll play this twice because it's really short. The point is, this is not about alcoholism, right? It's not about alcohol is a bad thing. In fact, it's not the opposite of that, but listen carefully, okay? Y'all ready? All right. Let's see if we can, I hope it's not like an inappropriate ad or something, but.
I've heard people say, I never suffered from alcoholism until I got sober. Well, right? And that's like, because the drinking alcohol and taking drugs is not the disease. That is, if anything, a remedy for the disease. Yeah. That's a symptom of the disease. The disease is centered in our mind, and the characteristics of the disease are restless, irritability, discontent. Like we're just plain uncomfortable in our own skin, and we need to soothe that discomfort. I've heard people say, I never suffered from alcoholism until I got sober. Well,
That's a cool quote right there. I never suffered from alcohol until I got sober. That's powerful. Like that's just, okay? And then it's like, well, what does he mean by that? All right?
Like, because the drinking alcohol and taking drugs is not the disease. That is, if anything, a remedy for the disease. Yeah. That's a symptom of the disease. The disease is centered in our mind, and the characteristics of the disease are restless, irritability, discontent. Like we're just plain uncomfortable in our own skin, and we need to soothe that discomfort.
All right. Y'all tell me, I love this. You know, this is going to be I think it's going to be a special day that nobody's worried about leaving and going to lunch. It's a small crowd. We're just going to have some good, honest time, okay? Can we do that? It's just some good, honest time. What does he mean? All right? What does he mean by, I didn't suffer from alcohol until I got sober? Okay, and why was it difficult once he tried to stop? What did he realize? Okay, so part of it is, thank you, Libby. I think he realized that alcohol wasn't the problem, correct? What's the problem? What did he say his problem was? He's like, I'm the problem. It's stuff that's going on in my mind and stuff that's going on in my heart. Guys, I hope you all know this is like a real worldly dude, like not grown up in church, and he's having the same realization that we are having right now. The whole world realizes this. And alcohol wasn't the problem. What was the problem? Me. In fact, he said, what did he say about alcohol? It kind of did what? It kind of helped. It kind of helped medicate problems. It kind of helped cover it up. But the problems were like I was anxious. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. Like all these things, like I was a troubled individual. And so I used this to help deal with that. But what's the problem? That doesn't fix it, right? Okay, so he says that. Let me get this back to this. Okay, all right, and it's not just alcohol. What else do people try to use as remedies for like, I'm troubled in heart, I'm troubled in mind, there's something I don't like about what's happening every day, so I'm going to try to use something to fill that hole. What else do people use? All right, money, cosmetics. What else? Sam? Oh, sorry. Were you raising your hand or no? Yep.
Hello. At this point in the sermon, we had a prayer session for my cousin who went to the emergency room and had to be flown from Owensboro to Louisville for medical treatment. So we had a prayer over that, and we muted it for privacy reasons, but it doesn't need to be private. So, thank you. Back to the lesson.
What else do people use as remedies? Libby brought up like cosmetics, money. What else do we try to use to fill that hole of like, I'm uncomfortable? What? Food. What else? Busyness. Busyness. Sex. Colton? Water? Yeah? I wish I had a little more of a problem like that. What? Shopping? I have a hard time hearing. All right, come on, right side of the auditorium. What else do people use? Huh? Internet? Drugs? Y'all know like AA is like Alcohol Anonymous, right? Well, there's not just, like there's more anonymous groups besides that, right? Like here's some of this kind of interesting. There's Cocaine Anonymous, there's crystal meth, there's marijuana, there's behavioral issues, there's Gambling Anonymous, there's Crime Anonymous, there's Food Anonymous, Sex Anonymous, Hoard Anonymous, Getting into Debt Anonymous, Workaholic Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous. Like, what are all these groups admitting to? Right? Right, Paula? Like, it can be anything. Like, for Steve-O, it was alcohol. But really, it was like, alcohol wasn't the problem. It's like, I got something wrong in me. Like, I need a heart transplant. And right now, I am trying to let alcohol fix it, and it's not fixing it. All right? How about, here's some more. Did y'all know that the highest selling products consistently fall into these categories? Fashion and apparel, electronics, health and beauty, home goods, food and beverages. And I looked more into food and beverages, and that's more like candy and Stanley cups, by the way. It's not like necessities, okay? What does that say to you? What is America spending the most amount of money on? Things that we don't need. Not that they're bad in and of itself, correct? But we're spending all of our money on what? It's so crazy that Libby said this and other people said, it's like we're spending things on fashion and apparel. Why would somebody spend a ton of money on clothes? Like why would a college girl or a high school girl spend a bunch of money on clothes? Because why? What does she want? She wants to be popular. She wants to be pretty. She wants people to think a certain way about her, right? Because there's something inside of her that is broken and says that she is not enough. Correct? Right? Okay. And it's that times everything else. It's the internet. It's electronics. Do you know people that are out there searching for like one more thumbs up and like? Do you know people that get all their happiness in the world is based off of how many likes does this thing get? Or if I don't get likes, what happens to their attitude? It tanks, right? I put this picture out there of me and my puppy, and it was just the cutest thing, and nobody liked it. That must mean everybody hates me. Life is awful. Oh. It's like, well, life isn't awful. And what is it like? Why are you doing that? Some people can do that very innocently, and some people find all of their identity in getting validated from other people. I'm self-medicating with Facebook, and I'm self-medicating with food, and I'm self-medicating with whatever, money, caffeine, vacations, but I keep doing this and it's not working. Have I made my point yet? Are y'all tired of me talking? I mean, this is serious stuff. All right, so you got Steve-O who says that. Here's another one. There's an NBA star, I forget who it was, but he had an interview and it was talking about playing in the NBA. And you know what he said about playing in the NBA? It was like, unless you are obsessed with basketball, you can't play in the NBA. Is obsessed a good word? You know what he's saying? Unless you're ready and willing to give everything to basketball, you won't make it in the NBA. And you know what you come to find out? Y'all know Michael Jordan, right? Okay. You may or may not know one of his teammates, Dennis Rodman. Everybody know Dennis Rodman, right? You know, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Incredible defensive player, rebounder, good athlete. When he gave his Hall of Fame speech, you know what he said? He was obsessed with basketball. He gave his life to basketball. When he gave his Hall of Fame speech, he was crying and he said, I had one regret, that I wasn't a better father. Okay. Is Dennis Rodman a preacher? Is he a church going, getting paid to do that? No, he's another person from the world validating what? I tried to fit something else into this God-shaped hole, and what happened? I'm left in tears, and I hate that I did it this way. And there's another one, Wilt Chamberlain, and I brought this up before. He had this interview on is it the Conan show? Is that? Anyway, he had an interview on one of those shows, and when he wrote this, he wrote a book, like a biography thing, and he was saying about, how do I say this? He had relations with 20,000 different people. Right? You know, Wilt Chamberlain, Hall of Fame basketball, really good. He had relations with 20,000 different people. And so he was asked about that on the show, like you said in your book that you did that. And y'all want to hear his quote? Y'all ready? This is a really good quote. He said, most men think it's really cool to go hook up with 1,000 different people one time. And I've been there and I've done that, and I'm telling you, it's way better to hook up 1,000 different times with one person. Is he a preacher? It's almost like that the world is validating the things that the Bible says, which is you can try to fill your life and to self-medicate with all these other things, but unless you are medicating with Jesus Christ, it does not work. Okay. All right. So I need to hush up and move on. So here's where we're going to start to wrap this up. Consumers are consumed with seeking comfort, yet find themselves uncomfortably weary from products and commercials, vainly seeking them out. Kind of a complicated quote there, but consumers are consumed with seeking comfort, yet find themselves uncomfortably weary from products and commercials, vainly seeking them out. So maybe it's time for us to say this out loud to somebody, or to say this in our brains, but maybe it's time that we start to talk to somebody from the world and we say some things like this. The way that you are living is not normal, and you are crying for help. All right, now I'm going to say it one more time because nobody's amen and shaking their heads. Y'all are falling asleep. All right, guys? Y'all wake up and listen. All right? Maybe y'all didn't understand what I just did, so I want to point this out a little more clear. The Bible says that when Jesus walked the earth, people wanted to spend time with him, correct? And when Jesus spent time with people, like he'd hang out with them for a couple of days, he's not performing miracles. What is he doing? He's talking. He's teaching. And when he gets done talking to people, people have this reaction of like, oh, wow. We have never heard somebody talk like you. You have a solution. Are y'all following along? That's what the Bible says. And you're like, well, I don't know if that's true. Well, let me prove it to you with what's going on in the world today. You can go find that video of Steve-O. You can go find the interview of Wilt Chamberlain. You can go find the video of Dennis Rodman's Hall of Fame speech. And you can find video after video after video of the world saying, what? It's not working. So I'm trying to convince you and empower each person in this room that you aren't commanded to preach the gospel. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are privileged to share a solution. You don't have to convince people. Seriously, please God, everybody in here listen to me right now. You don't have to convince people that the world does not work. I hope you all see and understand. Like, the world and Satan wants you to think that being a Christian is unpopular, right? Or they want you to think that, like, believing in a creation event is unpopular and being against evolution is unpopular. And let me tell you what's popular. What's popular is people are not happy. That's popular. Show them these videos. Show them like, all right, so you think this. Well, what do you do with Dennis Rodman's feelings about how his daughter hates his guts? When they interview his daughter, your dad got inducted into the Hall of Fame. What do you think? Guess what she says? I don't care. I hate basketball because basketball took my dad away. I hate alcohol because alcohol took my mom away. I hate the internet, so it took my brother away. I hate this stuff because it took so-and-so away, because everybody's trying to fill this God-shaped hole with world-shaped solutions, and it doesn't work. So you need to be fully and totally convinced of this phrase. People are constantly consuming themselves, and the facts say it. What are people spending money on? The number one product in the world and in America right now is not Bibles. What's the number one product in America? Makeup. And coffee cups. And name brand shirts. Because people are trying to find a solution to a problem. It is in your favor that they need help. It is in your favor. They desperately want the gospel. They don't know it. The statistics are saying, and the videos are saying, and people's testimonies are saying, the world is not working. It is leaving me uncomfortable and weary. And the products and the commercials, they are seeking me out, but they are doing so in vain. They aren't wanting a one-time purchase. They are wanting repeated purchases. Because it is a vain solution to this problem that I have. So it's almost like I need something appropriate to fix me. And guess what you guys have the privilege to do? You all have the privilege to offer an actual helpful solution to people's open wounds. God has really big Band-Aids. Okay. So maybe here's something you could say. Can y'all say this with me real quick? I want y'all to repeat after me, okay? You ready to repeat? Real simple. What if Jesus could fix that? All right, one more time, okay? What if Jesus could fix that? Okay, you all said that. Maybe one more time. What if Jesus could fix that? So, congratulations. You just graduated from the Horse Branch Sugar Grove Church of Christ School of Preaching. Y'all are all evangelists now. Y'all are evangelists. Ready? That's it. What do I say? Well, I don't know the Bible front and back. I don't know this passage from Isaiah 4. What am I going to? Here's what you could say. Y'all ready? Y'all just said it one more time. What if Jesus could fix that? Is that, how hard is that? That's all Jesus did. Lisa just keeps going. That's all Jesus did with the woman at the well. Like, sweetheart, I'm saying this because I love you. You're doing something that's not working, and you're still doing stuff that's not working. You are self-sabotaging yourself. What if I could fix that for you? Bam, and you're done. All right, so here's my closing thoughts. Is there one person in your life who could benefit from Jesus? Obviously, there's a bunch of people, but let's just start with one, bite-sized pieces. What if there's one person in your life who could benefit from Jesus? So let us decide to stop making excuses and start making disciples. That is a kick butt quote right there. Man, one more time. Let us decide to stop making excuses and start making disciples. You all need to know, all right? I'm not even going to look at you when I say this, but I just want you all to know this, okay? You all are teachers. You are facilitators. You will help people realize they have problems that God can help with. People will be surprised at your authority that Jesus gives you over their troubled hearts. People will be shocked. They will be astounded. They will be like, I've never heard someone tell me you can't fix it on your own because you're the problem. Nobody's ever told me that. That kind of hurts. It stings a little bit. But I think you're right. They will be astounded by your authority to say, you can't fix that because you're the problem, but I know a guy who can fix it. And you can all be, this whole room can be evangelists. And this whole room can bring people to God by telling them, what if Jesus could fix that? If you could have one miracle in your life, like if God could fix one character flaw that you have, what do you wish that he could fix? I really wish he could fix this one thing. Well, he can't. Well, let me give Jesus a chance. And then you just step out of the way and let Jesus do the work. So our final lesson is each one win one. That's a patented thing or whatever, right? That's a copyrighted thing, but it's a good concept. I hope you all 100% believe that there are people in your life. There are people in the world that you never even talk to, that you will never talk to. I will never talk to Dennis Rodman. But I can tell you that he needs Christ, right? I can tell you he's a broken-hearted, grown adult who has had more money than any of us will ever have. And he would trade it all back for what? To be a better father. Because when he chased what the world gave him, it left him hungry. And when you take a drink of what Jesus gives you, you never thirst again. So let's decide to stop making excuses and start making disciples. Get people connected to Christ. Get them to follow Jesus. All right. We're done, guys. We're done. We're going to start singing Said I Wasn't. And if you're here today and you're not connected with Jesus, why not? Are you hungry and thirsty each and every day? You keep going back to a product that the world offers you, and surprise, the product does not work, and you keep buying the product, and it still doesn't keep helping. All right, so maybe you need something bigger and better than that. Maybe you need Christ. And if you are here today, my Christian brothers and sisters, I hope to God that I have explained this well enough. You do not have to be formally educated to tell people that there's help. You just don't. You know what you have to do? You have to stop looking at the ground and start looking at the world. You have to stop being like, Jesus, are you hungry? And Jesus is like, I have food you don't know about. It's like, oh, somebody brought him some food. And like, Jesus is like, no, I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about there's a whole town coming this way, and they need to be talked to. Like the ambulances. Y'all remember from my adult Bible class? When I started working in EMS, you know what I started noticing everywhere around town? Ambulances. Was that because there was a huge surge in ambulances once I joined? No, it's because what? I started doing what? Started noticing them. I started paying. When you start to look for it, you will not be able to unsee it. You won't be able to unsee it that people are constantly, they're just unsatisfied. I don't know how else to say it. Once you start to look for it, you will see people that are constantly spending money on I just need a good muscle car. I just need a job promotion. I just need this. Just need a house to sell. How many times have I said that? I just need these. Just once we get out of debt, once this thing happens, we'll be golden. And then that thing happens, and then what? You're still not golden because you're trying to find satisfaction in something that does not work. You won't be able to unsee it once you start to look for it. The lost needs your help, church family. Can you all say they do? They do. The lost needs your help. You have what it takes. You have what it takes. Hey, man, would you like for Jesus to fix that? Or do you want to just keep living that way? I'd like for Jesus to fix that. Buddy, let's go. Why don't you come forward as together we stand and sing.
Hey there, this is Sam Johnston. I'm an elder and teach the youth group. I hope you liked the video. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and turn on the bell to get notifications when we post videos or when we are live. Even better, join us in person at 1 Scenic Lane, Horse Branch, Kentucky 42349. We meet Sunday at 9:30 for Sunday school, then worship service following at 10:30. Then on Wednesday evenings at 6:30 we have classes for adults, teens, and children. Our mission is to be a family that surrenders to Jesus and glorifies God by loving all people and making disciples as we go, and you are welcome.